Leviticus 21. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron's sons, the priests, and tell them that a priest is not to defile himself for a dead person among his people, except for his immediate family, his mother, father, son, daughter, or brother, or his unmarried sister who is near to him, since she has no husband. He is not to defile himself for those related to him by marriage, and so profane himself. Priests must not make bald spots on their heads, shave off the edges of their beards, or make cuts in their bodies. They must be holy to their God and not profane the name of their God, because they present to the Lord the food offerings, the food of their God. They must be holy. A priest must not marry a woman defiled by prostitution or divorced by her husband, for the priest is holy to his God. You are to regard him as holy, since he presents the food of your God. He shall be holy to you, because I, the Lord, am holy, I who set you apart. If a priest's daughter defiles herself by prostituting herself, she profanes her father. She must be burned in the fire. The priest who is highest among his brothers, who has had the anointing oil poured on his head, and has been ordained to wear the priestly garments, must not let his hair hang loose or tear his garments. He must not go near any dead body. He must not defile himself even for his father or mother. He must not leave or desecrate the sanctuary of his God, for the consecration of the anointing oil of his God is on him. I am the Lord. The woman he marries must be a virgin. He is not to marry a widow, a divorced woman, or one defiled by prostitution. He is to marry a virgin from his own people, so that he does not defile his offspring among his people. For I am the Lord who sanctifies him. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Say to Aaron, for the generations to come, none of your descendants who has a physical defect may approach to offer the food of his God. No man who has any defect may approach. No man who is blind, lame, disfigured, or deformed. No man who has a broken foot or hand, or who is a hunchback or dwarf, or who has an eye defect, a festering rash, scabs, or a crushed testicle. No descendant of Aaron the priest who has a defect shall approach to present the food offerings to the Lord. Since he has a defect, he is not to come near to offer the food of his God. He may eat the most holy food of his God as well as the holy food, but because he has a defect, he must not go near the veil or approach the altar, so as not to desecrate my sanctuaries. For I am the Lord who sanctifies them." Moses told this to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites. Leviticus 22. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to treat with respect the sacred offerings that the Israelites have consecrated to me, so that they do not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Tell them that for the generations to come, if any of their descendants in a state of uncleanness approaches the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. If a descendant of Aaron has a skin disease or a discharge, he may not eat the sacred offerings until he is clean. Whoever touches anything defiled by a corpse or by a man who has an emission of semen, or whoever touches a crawling creature or a person that makes him unclean, whatever the uncleanness may be, the man who touches any of these will remain unclean until evening. He must not eat from the sacred offerings unless he has bathed himself with water. When the sun has set, he will become clean, and then he may eat from the sacred offerings, for they are his food. He must not eat anything found dead or torn by wild animals, which would make him unclean. I am the Lord. The priests must keep my charge lest they bear the guilt and die because they profane it. I am the Lord who sanctifies them. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering, nor may the guest of a priest or his hired hand eat it. But if a priest buys a slave with his own money, or if a slave is born in his household, that slave may eat his food. If the priest's daughter is married to a man other than a priest, she is not to eat of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter with no children becomes widowed or divorced and returns to her father's house, she may share her father's food as in her youth. But no outsider may share it. If anyone eats a sacred offering in error, He must add a fifth to its value and give the sacred offering to the priest. The priest must not profane the sacred offerings that the Israelites present to the Lord by allowing the people to eat the sacred offerings and thus to bear the punishment for guilt. For I am the Lord who sanctifies them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and all the Israelites and tell them, any man of the house of Israel or any foreign resident who presents a gift for a burnt offering to the Lord, whether to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, must offer an unblemished male from the cattle, sheep, or goats in order for it to be accepted on your behalf. You must not present anything with a defect, because it will not be accepted on your behalf. When a man presents a peace offering to the Lord from the herd or flock to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, it must be without blemish or defect to be acceptable. You are not to present to the Lord any animal that is blind, injured, or maimed, or anything with a running sore, a festering rash, or a scab. You must not put any of these on the altar as a food offering to the Lord. You may present as a free will offering an ox or sheep that has a deformed or stunted limb, but it is not acceptable in fulfillment of a vow. You are not to present to the Lord an animal whose testicles are bruised, crushed, torn, or cut. You are not to sacrifice them in your land. Neither you nor a foreigner shall present food to your God from any such animal. They will not be accepted on your behalf because they are deformed and flawed. Then the Lord said to Moses, when an ox, a sheep, or a goat is born, it must remain with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as a food offering presented to the Lord. But you must not slaughter an ox or a sheep on the same day as its young. When you sacrifice a thank offering to the Lord, offer it so that it may be acceptable on your behalf. It must be eaten that same day. Do not leave any of it until morning. I am the Lord. You are to keep my commandments and practice them. I am the Lord. You must not profane my holy name. I must be acknowledged as holy among the Israelites. I am the Lord who sanctifies you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. Leviticus 23. Then the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed feasts, the feasts of the Lord that you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. For 6 days work may be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of complete rest, a day of sacred assembly. You must not do any work. Wherever you live, it is a Sabbath to the Lord. These are the Lord's appointed feasts, the sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Passover to the Lord begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of the same month begins the Feast of Unleavened Bread to the Lord. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to hold a sacred assembly. You are not to do any regular work. For 7 days you are to present a food offering to the Lord. On the 7th day there shall be a sacred assembly. You must not do any regular work. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say, when you enter the land that I am giving you, and you reap its harvest, you are to bring to the priest a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord so that it may be accepted on your behalf. The priest is to wave it on the day after the Sabbath. On the day you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a year-old lamb without blemish as a burnt offering to the Lord, along with its grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, a food offering to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, and its drink offering of a 1/4 hin of wine. You must not eat any bread or roasted or new grain until the very day you have brought this offering to your God. This is to be a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. From the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you are to count off 7 full weeks. You shall count off 50 days until the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain to the Lord. Bring 2 loaves of bread from your dwellings as a wave offering, each made from 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour, baked with leaven, as the first fruits to the Lord. Along with the bread you are to present 7 unblemished male lambs a year old, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord, together with their grain offerings and drink offerings, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. You shall also prepare 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 male lambs a year old as a peace offering. The priest is to wave the lambs as a wave offering before the Lord, together with the bread of the first fruits. The bread and the 2 lambs shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. On that same day you are to proclaim a sacred assembly, and you must not do any regular work. This is to be a permanent statute wherever you live for the generations to come. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and the foreign resident. I am the Lord your God. The Lord also said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of rest, a sacred assembly announced by trumpet blasts. You must not do any regular work, but you are to present a food offering to the Lord." Again the Lord said to Moses, "The 10th day of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement. You shall hold a sacred assembly and humble yourselves and present a food offering to the Lord. On this day you are not to do any work, for it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. If anyone does not humble himself on this day, he must be cut off from his people. I will destroy from among his people anyone who does any work on this day. You are not to do any work at all. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. It will be a Sabbath of complete rest for you, and you shall humble yourselves. From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening, you are to keep your Sabbath." And the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say, on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Feast of Tabernacles to the Lord begins, and it continues for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a sacred assembly. You must not do any regular work. For 7 days you are to present a food offering to the Lord. On the 8th day you are to hold a sacred assembly and present a food offering to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You must not do any regular work. These are the Lord's appointed feasts, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for presenting food offerings to the Lord, burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings, each on its designated day. These offerings are in addition to the offerings for the Lord's Sabbaths, and in addition to your gifts, to all your vow offerings, and to all the free will offerings you give to the Lord. On the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the produce of the land, you are to celebrate a feast to the Lord for 7 days. There shall be complete rest on the first day and also on the 8th day. On the first day you are to gather the fruit of majestic trees, the branches of palm trees, and the boughs of leafy trees and of willows of the brook. And you are to rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. You are to celebrate this as a feast to the Lord for 7 days each year. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come. You are to celebrate it in the 7th month. You are to dwell in booths for 7 days. All the native born of Israel must dwell in booths, so that your descendants may know that I made the Israelites dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites the appointed feasts of the Lord. Leviticus 24. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Command the Israelites to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually. Outside the veil of the testimony in the tent of meeting, Aaron is to tend the lamps continually before the Lord, from evening until morning. This is to be a permanent statute for the generations to come. He shall tend the lamps on the pure gold lampstand before the Lord continually. You are also to take fine flour and bake 12 loaves, using 2/10 of an ephah for each loaf, and set them in 2 rows, 6 per row, on the table of pure gold before the Lord. And you are to place pure frankincense near each row, so that it may serve as a memorial portion for the bread, a food offering to the Lord. Every Sabbath day the bread is to be set out before the Lord on behalf of the Israelites as a permanent covenant. It belongs to Aaron and his sons, who are to eat it in a holy place, for it is to him a most holy part of the food offerings to the Lord, his portion forever. Now the son of an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father went out among the Israelites, and a fight broke out in the camp between him and an Israelite. The son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name with a curse. So they brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Shelemith, daughter of Dibri, of the tribe of Dan. They placed him in custody until the will of the Lord should be made clear to them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Take the blasphemer outside the camp, and have all who heard him lay their hands on his head. Then have the whole assembly stone him. And you are to tell the Israelites, if anyone curses his God, he shall bear the consequences of his sin. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord must surely be put to death. The whole assembly must surely stone him, whether he is a foreign resident or native. If he blasphemes the name, he must be put to death. And if a man takes the life of anyone else, he must surely be put to death. Whoever kills an animal must make restitution, life for life. If anyone injures his neighbor, whatever he has done must be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Just as he injured the other person, the same must be inflicted on him. Whoever kills an animal must make restitution, but whoever kills a man must be put to death. You are to have the same standard of law for the foreign resident and the native, for I am the Lord your God." Then Moses spoke to the Israelites, and they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him. So the Israelites did as the Lord had commanded Moses. Leviticus 25. Then the Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land that I am giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years you may sow your field and prune your vineyard and gather its crops. But in the 7th year there shall be a Sabbath of complete rest for the land, a Sabbath to the Lord. You are not to sow your field or prune your vineyard. You are not to reap the aftergrowth of your harvest or gather the grapes of your untended vines. The land must have a year of complete rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year shall be food for you, for yourself, your manservant and maidservant, the hired hand or foreigner who stays with you, and for your livestock and the wild animals in your land. All its growth may serve as food. And you shall count off 7 Sabbaths of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the 7 Sabbaths of years amount to 49 years. Then you are to sound the horn far and wide on the 10th day of the 7th month, the Day of Atonement. You shall sound it throughout your land. So you are to consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty in the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be your jubilee, when each of you is to return to his property and to his clan. The 50th year will be a jubilee for you. You are not to sow the land or reap its aftergrowth or harvest the untended vines. For it is a jubilee, it shall be holy to you. You may eat only the crops taken directly from the field. In this year of jubilee, each of you shall return to his own property. If you make a sale to your neighbor or purchase from him, you must not take advantage of each other. You are to buy from your neighbor according to the number of years since the last jubilee. He is to sell to you according to the number of harvest years remaining. You shall increase the price in proportion to a greater number of years, or decrease it in proportion to a lesser number of years, for he is selling you a given number of harvests. Do not take advantage of each other, but fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. You are to keep my statutes and carefully observe my judgments, so that you may dwell securely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruit, so that you can eat your fill and dwell in safety in the land. Now you may wonder, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not sow or gather our produce? But I will send my blessing upon you in the 6th year, so that the land will yield a crop sufficient for 3 years. While you are sowing in the 8th year, you will be eating from the previous harvest until the 9th year's harvest comes in. The land must not be sold permanently, because it is mine, and you are but foreigners and residents with me. Thus for every piece of property you possess, you must provide for the redemption of the land. If your brother becomes impoverished and sells some of his property, his nearest of kin may come and redeem what his brother has sold. Or if a man has no one to redeem it for him, but he prospers and acquires enough to redeem his land, He shall calculate the year since its sale, repay the balance to the man to whom he sold it, and return to his property. But if he cannot obtain enough to repay him, what he sold will remain in possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee, however, it is to be released, so that he may return to his property. If a man sells a house in a walled city, he retains his right of redemption until a full year after its sale. During that year it may be redeemed. If it is not redeemed by the end of a full year, then the house in the walled city is permanently transferred to its buyer and his descendants. It is not to be released in the Jubilee. But houses in villages with no walls around them are to be considered as open fields. They may be redeemed, and they shall be released in the Jubilee. As for the cities of the Levites always have the right to redeem their houses in the cities they possess. So whatever belongs to the Levites may be redeemed, a house sold in a city they possess, and must be released in the Jubilee, because the houses in the cities of the Levites are their possession among the Israelites. But the open pasture land around their cities may not be sold, for this is their permanent possession. Now if your countryman becomes destitute and cannot support himself among you, then you are to help him as you would a foreigner or stranger, so that he can continue to live among you. Do not take any interest or profit from him, but fear your God, that your countrymen may live among you. You must not lend him your silver at interest, or sell him your food for profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If a countryman among you becomes destitute and sells himself to you, then you must not force him into slave labor. Let him stay with you as a hired worker or temporary resident. He is to work for you until the year of Jubilee. Then he and his children are to be released, and he may return to his clan and to the property of his fathers. Because the Israelites are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, they are not to be sold as slaves. You are not to rule over them harshly, but you shall fear your God. Your men servants and maidservants shall come from the nations around you, from whom you may purchase them. You may also purchase them from the foreigners residing among you, or their clans living among you who are born in your land. These may become your property. You may leave them to your sons after you to inherit as property. You can make them slaves for life. But as for your brothers, the Israelites, no man may rule harshly over his brother. If a foreigner residing among you prospers, but your countryman dwelling near him becomes destitute and sells himself to the foreigner or to a member of his clan, he retains the right of redemption after he has sold himself. One of his brothers may redeem him. Either his uncle or cousin or any close relative from his clan may redeem him. Or if he prospers, he may redeem himself. He and his purchaser will then count the time from the year he sold himself up to the year of Jubilee. The price of his sale will be determined by the number of years, based on the daily wages of a hired hand. If many years remain, he must pay for his redemption in proportion to his purchase price. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, he is to calculate and pay his redemption according to his remaining years. He shall be treated like a man hired from year to year, but a foreign owner must not rule over him harshly in your sight. Even if he is not redeemed in any of these ways, he and his children shall be released in the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites are my servants, they are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And with that, we bring today's reading to a close. May these sacred words dwell richly in your heart and guide your path in wisdom and truth. Until we meet again to continue our journey through the Holy Scriptures, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Go in his peace.